Hello everyone, welcome back to a very, 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 very special episode of the Film Production Podcast. This is the paustv podcast, which is a big thing for the university. Today we have Laura with us and Rishi, who is the...
Hi, founder and CEO of Pause.
Amazing. I'm so glad you're here to actually speak to us about this. It's great that you're doing this with us.
No, good to be here.
Awesome. And yeah, our very own Laura's here as well, just to, back me up a little bit with some loaded questions, hopefully.
Definitely.
So, I don't know if you want to just get straight into it and just be like, do you want to, how about this? Who are you? Where have you come from, and why did you want to sort of set up Pause TV in the first place, and what was the sort of, what's your backstory?
So I spent years working in the sort of traditional media sector in the studio space. My first job was actually at Sony Pictures, and it was it was so long ago. DVDs and Blu-rays were still the kind of big thing then, and digital streaming was this kind of small department where there's like a couple of us working in it. And it was around about the time when Netflix was starting to grow big across parts of Europe. So my role within the team was to kind of organize distribution deals across Scandinavia and Benelux and work on kind of big TV series and franchises. I then moved over to Universal Studios, did a similar thing there with iTunes and Amazon and Google Play. And again, working on franchises like Fast and Furious, Jurassic Park, and then was over at Warner Brothers for a number of years on a kind of a cross strategy, again with Harry Potter or Lego or DC Comics, all very, very cool, big budget, big blockbuster stuff. And then I went into consulting, did some stuff for Condé Nast, did some stuff for Disney, did some stuff for BBC, and I kind of at that point, look, I came into this because big fan of film and I love cinema, I love storytelling. But what I saw when I worked in the studio space was content becoming increasingly commoditized and commercial and more focused on franchises. Every studio had pretty much the same strategy, which is let's focus more on our surefire hits and less so on the risks in storytelling. And you can see that trend, over the past 10, 15 years. More and more content is being made from franchise and less is being made from original scripted content. So what we decided to do as a company was to change that. One of the key reasons why studios are taking less bets on original content is because those economics don't work out when it comes to kind of smaller independent films. The economics are really there in digital streaming when it comes to big franchises, big TV series.
Something that sells, really.
Absolutely.
So it makes a lot of money quickly.
So we thought, how can we reinvent this? Because the independent film sector was on decline from a production point of view, from a budget point of view, but the demand was on the increase. So why, if the demand is there, why is the industry struggling? And one of the key reasons was because the economics in digital streaming just didn't marry up. So we decided to reinvent that, and this is where Pause was born. Me and a small team with a good group of investors, we're now building this out on iOS, Android, desktop, tablet, as a full streaming service akin to something like Netflix or Amazon, but dedicated only to independent films. It doesn't really matter about budget size. So, you go into something like Netflix and they'll say, we spent 10 million an episode on The Crown, right? And that's great. We have a film that was made for 36 quid. And
goes to show, doesn't it? Really. I mean, but it doesn't mean it's a bad film, though.
No,
either.
Not at all. Not at all. Some of the best films I've watched have been what I call low to no budget films. What does it mean by best? No, it doesn't have huge explosions or helicopters because you can't afford that on a budget. But originality, authenticity, the script, the story, the acting, the originality of the story being told. All that, and in cinematography as well, and the quality of production, all that makes a good film. It's not just about budget sizes, and we seem to be in an environment where there's almost a war between streamers of who can outspend the other. We're kind of reinventing that, saying, actually, let's democratize this entire industry so You don't have to have 10 million to make a short piece of content. If you got a camera and it's good enough and you've got a story to tell, well, we'll be a platform for you that supports you. You can tell your story on our platform, and even better, you can get paid for it as well.
Awesome. Yeah. It's ticking all the boxes, really, isn't it? Especially for students who are making films a lot of the time for like I say, no budget, and they do want it seen. I think the biggest thing that people want is their films to be seen by other people, and you're actually sort of enabling, people who might never get their films seen anywhere to, that chance of, they're on a streaming platform and they can sort of almost see that, there is, they're making progress almost. And it's something great you could put on and you say, oh yeah, my film's on paustv, it's a streaming platform, and people will appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. You can share your work. We're now across every single, in 2 weeks, we'll be across every single device. And we'll have things like Chromecast, and you can share the link to your film on WhatsApp. And it's so easy for people just to watch your film and leave a small token tip. By the way, just in case not clear, the way Pause works is very different, in sharp contrast to every other streaming service, in that we don't have monthly subscriptions, so you don't have to pay to access Pause. We don't have set payments, so you don't have to rent an independent film for £3.15. You've got it for 48 hours. And there's no adverts. All we do, we strip all that back, and we say, watch films for free. Filmmakers upload films for free. There's obviously a vetting process, and this is where the University of Salford comes in. Mm-hmm. But filmmakers, there's no cost involved. Audiences, there's no risk involved. If you like what you watch, then leave a token payment. Leave a discretionary tip of your choice. There's no upper limit. There's a lower limit. It's around 30p. There's no upper limit. Mm-hmm. And 80%, so pretty much everything, goes back to the filmmaker, right into their pockets. It's the way it's set up as well. It's completely instant. So as a filmmaker, when you set up a profile, the first thing you do is add your bank details, you upload your film, and so the moment someone tips, the very minute it goes into your account, you see it ping up into your account.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the most exciting parts of this platform that I'm really delighted that a lot of our students will have the opportunity to engage in, is because often, they're paying huge fees to get into film festivals. And even if their film does get into a festival, maybe like the people who are there see it, or right now, like in COVID times, folks aren't necessarily tuning in as much to the streamed festivals. So maybe they got in and they didn't get to have a festival run. And then they may have met a couple of people who might be interested in funding their next project, but where is this sort of return and push forward into the next project? It feels really not tangible. Whereas here, it's like immediately when somebody sees your film, they can offer you sort of a contribution to your next film, which really closes the gap between this oh, I finally get to present my project, and then, oh no, like what am I going to put on next? How do I get the funding? It just really, I think, allows for a more sustainable model of independent filmmaking, which is really important for film students, for people who are sort of trying to make more adventurous, independent work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to give you a sort of very small anecdotal example, we had a young filmmaker, 17, made his first film during lockdown, and the only resource he had access to was like a Tupperware box and an old phone and his brother. That's the only resource that he had, and a decent camera, which he borrowed from his dad or something. And I think he had like 30 quid that he could spend. Made this film, 17 years old, first time he's made it. And we thought, okay, let's showcase it. Look, we don't put bad content on, so there's always a vetting process. It's not as though you're going to come to Pause and just watch experimental content that someone's made on their phone.
Well, that's the difference between YouTube and Vimeo, which I'm glad for that, actually, that vetting process, is because when you go on YouTube and Vimeo, it's so much content. And we're saying here, like, we're filmmakers, and we want good content straight off the bat. I don't think that's necessarily an exclusive or bad thing. I'm excited about that part of it.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that when someone comes onto Pause, they trust that they're going to watch something good every single time. And I know it's good is a matter of opinion. But as long as there's a certain quality barrier there, we're kind of blind to age or whether it's someone's debut film. First night on Pause, he earned around £650 in tips.
Wow.
Just from people.
Wow.
And we spent no money marketing this. He spent no money marketing it. It's purely organic, just people hearing about it and watching it. I think we gave like a week run up, and we spent very little time even pushing it forward. So for a 17-year-old, within one day to earn £600 profit, that's net profit from a film that he's made, yeah, it's he's not going to get rich off that, but it gives him now
an incentive almost. It's like, well, there is a way to do this. It's not an unviable thing anymore. I mean, so many people have access to cameras now. I mean, even God forbid people use their phone cameras, but it's one of those, isn't it? But people can make films on their phones, and they can be good. They can be really, really good. And,
we
and I think
we
this
have
gives us that
a film
opportunity.
on our platform that was made on an iPhone and won a BAFTA.
There you go.
Anyone can make films now, and it's good that these films can be shown and also actually receive almost that funding back. Yeah. Is there anything else either of you want to say quickly about the sort of the overarching internals of Pause TV? Or
Yeah, we mentioned YouTube earlier and about the quantity. There's a whole quantity versus quality issue here, and the amount that you get on YouTube is around 500 hours every single minute of content. So I don't know how long we've been on this podcast for, but then you have
already hours and well, we've been on this for 13 minutes, so there's already like what?
Oh, is that a couple of months?
Yeah.
Worth of this is new content, right?
Content.
So no one's ever seen it. So this is new stuff's been uploaded already on this podcast, and that's the fundamental difference between an open service that relies on adverts versus something that's completely democratic and fair, like we're doing, and has a vetting process as well. And then, on top of that, not only is there just sheer quantity of stuff on YouTube, but the average that someone can earn, because this is a concept that actually, if my video goes viral, then I'm going to earn a load of money from an ad-based platform like YouTube. The average earning is around 70p for every 1,000 views. I'm not here to slag off YouTube, by the way, but just the realities of how economics work on advertisement-based platforms is 70p for every 1,000 views. So if you imagine if you get 1,000 views on your video on Pause, it only really takes one of those 1,000 people to tip £1, and you've already earned more than you would have on YouTube.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a better experience for audiences as well because there's no advert.
And
Right.
also, it's just a good film.
I
too.
think with ad-based platforms, one thing that we continue to say across social media and internet platforms is just like, do we want ad-based platforms? Is that something that we're enjoying as a society, as communities? Often not. And so I think it's very interesting to try and experiment with non-ad-based platforms that still allow people to make money from the internet. I think that's a really exciting idea and way to sort of expand how we are engaging with each other and making content and working together on the internet. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it is a lot better than just having to, shop out for, Google Ads or whatever, AdSense. I think is the one that people use.
Absolutely, Google AdSense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not quite the same, is it? Especially, like you say, that 500 hours of new content every minute. That's what you're almost at that point. Anything you upload on the platform like that, screaming into the void. How are you ever going to get heard on something like that? But with this, you've got your. I assume you. I think I've been on it, and you see you've got a nice poster or a thumbnail for each video, and then it's all really laid out really nice and they're dead simple to use. And then you can just find things that you want to watch, and see good filmmaker films, especially for fellow filmmakers. I'm sure everyone will agree that we do like I personally really like watching other short films.
Yeah,
So,
it's worth saying.
yeah.
I think often I'm always trying to find more short films. What are the films that got into Sundance? What got into the BAFTAs? What are the short films of the year? And I find it really hard to find these films. Often they're still in festival runs. They haven't been released online. And unless you're at the festival, it's hard to sort of be on the cutting edge of like, what are the short films that these festivals are interested in right now? And that is a really important part of like coming up with a festival strategy for a following year. If you are interested in you're in production, is seeing where you can apply. And I think that is another great opportunity, is maybe some festival after their festival run or even during could host live pause screenings and really be able to sort of reach a wider audience and for filmmakers to have one place to go to. It's hard to track down all these festivals online and keep up to date with them. So I think that's really exciting as well. It's not just to sort of see, like, each year I watch like 4 or 5 BAFTA films, but I want to see, all the stuff that they programmed, or be able to pick and choose, particularly towards my interests as a filmmaker, the content that I would want from short films. And it's hard to find short films. Like, it really is hard to find a large breadth of high quality short films on the internet. And it's a really important part of, filmmaking for filmmakers who are practicing, but also for students to just understand the medium and be able to think in sort of what's a 5-minute, what's a 10-minute, what's a 15-minute story. It's hard to be able to make that type of content unless you have a breadth of sort of resources available to research and watch.
Because also, on that, YouTube short films are very different from a festival short film.
Definitely.
The what you're getting, the content that you're getting from YouTube and Vimeo and whatever, because obviously anyone can upload. There's such a wide range of stuff that you're potentially getting, that you don't have to filter through hours of stuff, but having a vetting process on a platform where other filmmakers have basically approved this film, they know this film is good, they want other people to see it, is great. It simplifies that process, doesn't it, down quite a lot.
Well, this is an interesting point about curation and how you select content and how it can be done. So if you get 500 hours every minute, how does a platform make sure that it surfaces up the relevant thing for the audience? And at the moment, they do that through an algorithm that kind of looks at your behaviors, your spending patterns, what you're looking at on Instagram, what you're looking at across different platforms. Say, okay, these are the ones that we think are the most relevant for you. Which means, I don't know, if you're like me and you think that your culture has something to do with what you see every day, what you watch, what you enjoy, what you're entertained with, and the stories that you're told, then effectively you're saying that, okay, my culture is now going to be defined by something that someone has programmed over in the States. Some developer has made this code that then dictates what I see, what's going to be in front of me, which then kind of either is going to entertain me, inspire me, inform me, because that's effectively what content does, right? Does those three things: entertains, inspires, or informs,
or makes angry,
or just makes you super emotional,
or additionally sells things to you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And so if that's where we've become, right. We've now, whether you're on a big streamer like Netflix or you're on YouTube, what you're seeing in front of you is being pre-selected for you by someone you don't know. And what we do at Pause is much more human side to that, which is human curation. It's where Salford come in and they say, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to pick out some films. And we work with a number of institutions that do that, like the Rain Dance Film Festival, like the International Animation Festival, big independent institutions who are watching thousands of hours worth of content, and then they say, well, this is what we think is cool. We're going to put that selection on pause so that we don't then have to rely on an algorithm to try and figure that out. And I think notoriously, algorithms in film just doesn't work that great. That's why people spend such a long time going through Netflix and Amazon trying to figure out what to watch every evening. It's the dilemma that everyone faces, which is, what am I going to watch this evening? And you're spending hours kind of combing through trying to find something to watch. Music, it works really well. You can have an algorithm in Spotify and it works very, very well. And that's why music, you just put on Spotify and instantly you'll find something that you want to watch, listen to. In film, it doesn't quite work. And so what we do, it's kind of that old thing you used to do when you go into Blockbuster. I don't know if everyone here's a couple of people quite young.
I absolutely adored Blockbuster.
Oh, okay, so you remember what Blockbuster...
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
when you used to go into
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, the first thing you would do is go to the person behind the desk and say, hey, what's the best horror out today?
Yeah.
Or what do you like watching? You can't do that anymore on digital platforms. No one's putting a stake in the ground saying, hey, this is what I think is really good, you should watch this.
Yeah, I didn't
That's what
realise
we
this
do it for.
podcast was going to make me cry today, man. Blockbuster. Do you remember when Netflix used to be in Blockbuster?
Yeah. Do you remember when Netflix used to send DVDs?
Yeah, I
Something
do.
like
I
that,
do.
yeah.
Wow, what a time.
Yeah.
You should start sending out DVDs. A little package, all selected for you. Nah, I'm joking. Sorry.
No, but curated content and trusting curators. I think that is really an interesting thing to sort of be like, yeah, we watch hundreds of films at this school every year, and we have discussions as lecturers and tutors about what is like doing something really interesting. These students are coming up with a new idea here. Maybe they could meet other people here to talk about this. I just think that really there are a lot of people who are watching a ton of films and saying, this is our group that we really like, or this stuff is happening right now in the film world, and they're tapped into it, and they also have like their own taste and good taste. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to have the same taste. That's the key thing here, right? Is that we are sort of like having individuals and independent institutions who have their own sort of types of films and type of voice that they want to amplify. And, that might be different from something that's happening over at a different school. But the exciting thing is when you tap into Salford, you're sort of seeing like, oh, our students are talking about all these ideas and we are valuing these sorts of things. And here's what's happening in this sort of micro community, which I think is really cool. Yeah.
I just want to bring up something really quickly. So I don't know if we've touched on this specifically yet, but how exactly is the University of Salford and Pause TV going to be working together in the future? What's the whole thing there? What's going on with it?
Do you want me to take that one?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You can both answer it, if you want.
So hopefully we'll have the same answer.
Yeah.
So we're obviously a digital streaming service, and we're across platforms. And what the University of Salford are doing is kind of like what every partner that we work with are doing, which is they're selecting some of the best films from their students and putting those films on pause. We're going to call it Student Corner. So it's going to be a place where people, almost like when you go to Cannes and there's Short Film Corner, we're doing the same thing but digitally with student films. And we want to work with more universities, because what I gather, there's an issue with students who are at the University of Salford who want to maybe know what students are making over at New York Film School, for example.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And what are the best films coming out of those film schools, which you can't, there's no platform that says, all right, here are the top film schools around the world, and this is what the students are making. So we're going to kickstart that process. We're going to kickstart that process with the University of Salford. They're going to pick out some of the films that represent their student cohort, put those films on pause, and those filmmakers can earn money from friends, family, fans, and hopefully use that money to keep making great films. And by the way, just kind of side point, if those filmmakers can stay in the Northwest and continue to make stuff here, I think that's really powerful. But we see a lot of talent shifting over to London, but a lot of great talent is moving now outside of the M25. And if we can get our film students to earn money from the films that make on pause, but continue to stay home at Salford around this area and make content with their classmates and still engage with their lecturers, I'm hoping that's you might say
Definitely.
actually no, I want them to go away, but yeah.
No, I would just follow up with that, and I think I used to work in New York and became a freelancer there and moved away from my home state of Pennsylvania, and I'm sure this happens a lot in the UK as well. As filmmakers they come from other parts of the country and then they move to London and they start making London stories, and that's great, and that's sort of economically it works for them. It's one of the only ways right now that they can kind of make money and continue to work in the film industry is in these big cultural hubs. But what I think is really interesting, and to be honest, one of the reasons why I moved to Manchester is because I felt like there's a ton of amazing stories here. There are amazing students here, and they're saying something that's very different than what people are saying in New York, what people are saying in London, what people are saying in LA. And I think that as filmmakers is we now have a democratization of resources. Now what we really need is a democratization of stories and location. And so if Pause can help to come up with an economic platform that does that, that is hugely beneficial, not just for, online streaming, but for the stories that we're telling in the filmmaking communities that we're sort of growing.
Awesome. Yeah. Powerful stuff, really, isn't it? Really gets you wanting to make a film. Do you not think?
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a side note, but our final film this year, a big thing that we are focusing on is northern talent, bringing in northern talent. Everything's going to be filmed in the north. It's all going to be filmed in Manchester. We're not going anywhere further out. We're going to all do it here, and that's a big part of what we're trying to say about the north. That we are here, and we are making films, and then to get that, on a platform, even better. So. There is a few student questions as well. I don't know if you want to do a couple of these, but there's one here that's particularly interesting, which is, I don't know who it's from. It doesn't have a name, so I'll just have to read it. Does this platform want exclusivity of short films, or would you be able to upload your work to other platforms like YouTube or Vimeo, or is it more to do with that, exclusive festival release type sort of platform? What's going on there?
So our terms are quite clear on this, which is we don't ask for exclusivity, but we highly encourage it. Not only because it's beneficial for us, but it's also beneficial to the filmmaker as well, because you got a choice as a filmmaker when you made a film. And by the way, I'm talking about either pre or post festival as well. Obviously, some festivals require you to not put it on any digital streaming service. So, regardless of what your festival strategy is, we encourage them to give it to us exclusively, just because if you're gonna ever get 1,000 or 10,000 people, however many people you're gonna get to watch your content, why would you want to spread that audience across different platforms, and equally different platforms that arguably don't pay the filmmaker fairer? So look, it's total freedom to the filmmaker. They can put their film on as many different platforms as possible, and there's great audiences, tons of billions of people who are on YouTube. So why not put your film on there as well to access more talent? But at the same time, if there is a way in your marketing that you can migrate your audiences to one platform, and a platform like ours that will just pay you better, but also give a better experience to the audience as well, because they don't have to sit through an advert, or pay up front, or pay a monthly subscription just to watch a piece of content, then we highly encourage that. We had a film on our platform, and she got 1.5 million views of her film as a documentary, and off the back of that, she earned, I don't know how she earned, but it's like a couple £100 from 1.5 million views. And it was spread, she had some on her website, she had some on Vimeo, she had a ton on Facebook, she had a ton on YouTube, and she counted all this up. So I've got 1.5 million people who watch my film, and she hardly earned anything from that. And I thought, just imagine if 1.5 million people watched it on pause. She sent a direct link, it was free for them to watch, don't have to sign up to anything or a monthly subscription or watch an advert. They watch it for free. And imagine if 1.5 million, let's say even 10% of them
gave a pound.
Yeah. Our average tip, by the way, is £9.10.
Really?
So I always use a pound as like an anecdote. Yeah, you can tip a pound, but people tip, the average tip at the moment is £9.10.
Wow.
That's the average amount someone gives. When they've got a choice of paying nothing, 30p, or, they can tip 10 grand if they want to, but our average tip is £9.10. So we're now reinventing a much more economical way for filmmakers to earn money.
The other thing I guess that's worth mentioning as well is you guys doing the live streaming, which allows for, which I think is really cool, and you can correct me if I sort of explain this, but from my understanding, it allows you as a filmmaker, even if your film is in a festival run, to be able to do a screening for friends and family, or, investors, or whoever you want to have a live screening for, that is sort of closed group, and happens like once at sort of an event time, which I think is great in the world right now in terms of being able to have a sort of like live event feeling for a screening that you can reach a lot of people in a lot of different sort of geographic areas. So that is slightly different than, or that isn't exclusive, I guess, or is a way to...
So what we do is live screenings. And again, it goes back to my time in studios where I'd always be invited to sort of big premieres of be Batman versus Superman, or what's that, Fantastic Beasts, or big kind of Hollywood premieres. And I was walking on the red carpet and I thought, why can't everyone have this? Not necessarily the press and the screaming fans, or the red carpet, or the big Odeon cinema in Leicester Square, but why can't everyone have their own worldwide premiere? We live in a digital age. Why can't, if you've made a film for £30 and you've got a Tupperware box, why can't you have the right to have a premiere for your film, and if people want to watch it, they can. So we do live global premieres. No matter where you're from, you can tune in, and they can be as open or as closed as a filmmaker wants. So if you're working with a festival, or you're submitting to a festival, and you're worried that there's going to be some clauses, you can have it closed. You can have it password protected, so only people with a password can have it. We're actually doing an event tonight that no one knows about because it's completely private. It's only for friends and family, and coronavirus, people can't get together, so we're hosting a screening for them. And the way it works is that we show it live. There's live tips, so you have a 3-minute window where people can tip, and it's been amazing. We had a film that earned £1.5 in 3 minutes.
That's amazing.
On
That's
a live
so
event.
Nice, yeah.
And then after
like a live chat as well?
After that, it's a Q&A with the filmmakers, and the audiences can ask questions, and it ends up being about, the whole evening tends to be about an hour, sometimes just over an hour, where I do an intro, we screen the film, and then there's the 3-minute time to tip, and then it goes into a Q&A.
Oh, that's so cute. I actually love that. Yeah, that's really nice.
And so that's what we're doing at the Festival of Short Film in January, from January 25th to 28th. Each of the evenings screenings will be on paustv, which I think will be great because all across, no matter where students are, they can watch the student films, which are sort of like live event premiered, which
with
will
no
be
adverts.
with no adverts, which will be great. All you got to do is tune into the website, the link, and
Awesome.
watch them there.
Oh, I love that, man. It's such a cool little partnership that we're going to have between, the university and Paul's, obviously, and, not just for our year, but for all the years that are going to come after us as well. And there's more amazing films going to get, because there's so many films that I've seen, from first. I mean, I don't even see a lot of the films from first and second year. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't even see. I don't see half the year's films, and even people in my class. Like, sometimes I don't even see their film because it's not finished or whatever. Like, and to be able to see those, the best ones that have been made, that have been chosen, obviously, and put on there. It's going to be a real nice little.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem that we've identified as lecturers, is like, how do we show everybody each other's films? And, as we're marking films, we sit in a room for, 24 hours, maybe a day. All the lecturers sit and watch every single film made in a year group. And that takes a lot of time. And so we say, how can we show students from different classes what is being done across the university and really share that? Because these are, your future collaborators, your future employees, your future employers. Like, these are really the people who are going to make your career with you. And so we've been trying to figure out a solution to that, other than sort of the huge logistics of putting on, screenings every single semester of each year group's films. And although we do mark them and we know which ones are best in which categories, it is a huge sort of I would say logistical challenge and event planning to be able to do that. So hopefully we can do more sort of live screenings where we show those things to your groups, and they can tune in.
And then everyone can just watch online.
Exactly.
Wherever they are.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's cool. So will it be like YouTube? So everyone has accounts and can upload their videos and browse the site. That was a sort of a yes.
Yeah. So you can create your own account. You put in your
free account.
Yeah, it's a free account. Okay. You have to sign up using Stripe, which is like a payment processor, and it splits the tips automatically. So we don't see your money. It doesn't come to our account. It goes directly into your account. And then you can upload your film. You have to put in your details, name and language, and if there's any subtitling, you can put in there as well. But it's all in one sort of. You have your own portal.
Okay. And then how does monetization work? It's not a paid subscription model. That's what someone asked. Donations, ad revenue. It was donations. Biggest thing, tips, donations, people giving money to your films on their choice. No ads.
The thing I think about with tipping as well that we maybe haven't talked about is that, and you've said this, and I really agree, is often, you see a great film, but like you're at the bar with the filmmaker and you maybe buy them a pint and you like want to express how great it is, and like you would give them a tenner if given the opportunity, but like that feels a bit patronizing in some way. It feels a bit like,
weird.
What? Like, why do they need my money? So. And I think that is where this is cool as well, is like it allows people to sort of say, I love this thing. I believe in you as a filmmaker and I want you to make more stuff. And like, here's me putting in some money for you to do that without being like a bit overbearing in person or a bit patronizing. Like that is really the element of tipping, which I think is cool.
Absolutely. It's kind of like digital busking in a way, where but there's less, it's less awkward, because even with close family and friends, you're not going to just slide £1 across the table and say, oh, that film was great, well done, because it's super strange, right? From a social point of view, it's a strange thing to do. Whereas you digitize it, all of a sudden it's normal. Yeah. And you've seen it with, Patreon is a fantastic platform. They've now sent like over 500 million to creators all over the world. And it's the same thing. You can, if you like an artist, you give them £2 a month, but you're not going to go to an artist and just kind of give them £2 in their pocket, because there's a fine line between being a patron and being patronizing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in the UK especially as well, the language of tipping over here is so wildly different to what you have in the US. That I don't know. I think British people are just generally more awkward. So this is a nice way for us to facelessly give people money, without any repercussions. And it's good, and you feel good about it as well.
In some ways, it makes me feel a bit better than sort of working on if I'm in a transition period between the film that I just made and the next film that I'm trying to fundraise for. I often feel really uncomfortable with these crowdfunding platforms where I'm sort of begging the same aunt or grandmother for money. Whereas here I'm showing them, like, I'm a filmmaker, I just made this thing, I want to make another thing. I'll talk to you about it in the Q&A, but like, here's a real tangible, thing that I'm doing that you can help to support me in a broader way, rather than being like, can I get 20 pounds on Kickstarter for, I think with Kickstarter and things, you can really only do it once or twice as a filmmaker, and then you've asked all of the aunties,
Yeah, there's no one else to give any money. Rinse them dry. Yeah, awesome.
Also on the receiving end, I'm not sure if every filmmaker would agree, but I think that when you receive something into your bank account, even if it's just like £2 or I say dollars as well because we're in the US, the feedback I've got is that it feels so much better than having, I don't know, 100 likes on a post.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because someone's actually reached into their pocket and given something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're redefining sort of success metrics on social media or on the internet, which is what's more important. Is it passive viewing or is it passionate viewing? And
active viewing.
And that kind of, you can buy views, actually, you can buy likes.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
It just doesn't mean anything anymore. And actually that you kind of hit a ceiling when your kind of satisfaction starts to dip. Whereas you're out and about and you get a ping on your notification saying, I just got £2 through from Pause. It's not good. It might not necessarily help financially, but it just means so much more.
Yeah. People are actively, seeing your thing and giving you money because they liked it so much, And it wants you to. It really does make you want to make more things as well. And you're like, wow, this has really inspired me to do, make something else. People like my stuff, so why shouldn't I make more? And it gives that, and also with current affairs, the creatives are suffering because of it, and so this is a great way for people who are creative to maybe get back into it again. They can still make things and benefit from it.
Creators have always sort of suffered to that extent. It's you say to your parents that I want to be a filmmaker. It's a very different reaction to say, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer when I'm older.
Yeah.
And the creative industries have always had that stigma of it's not financially viable to do that. And we saw it, it's not something that's age old. We saw it recently when Rishi Sunak said, hey, if you're a ballet dancer, you're in the arts, why not retrain and go into cybersecurity instead? But at the same time, right, the creative industries is vast, and it grows faster than pretty much every other industry in the UK. People don't shout about it, but I think it's per pound spent, you get it's a 12.5x return from an economic point of view, and it grows faster than the second biggest is auto in this country, and it grows faster than auto. I don't know if that's changed since coronavirus, but it definitely, from a UK standpoint, the creative industries is vast. So the idea that if you're a creative individual, you're a storyteller, you're a filmmaker, you're a photographer, that actually it's better to retrain as an accountant or a cybersecurity expert. It's just odd. I think the issue is economics.
Definitely, yeah. So, Rishi, we actually have a really interesting statistic here. Wonderfully found by Lucy. So the employment in motion picture and video production, and this is in the US, I think, in March 2020 was at 243,000 people. In May 2020, the rate was 126,000 people, and in September, the rate was only 164,000. So it has gone up a little bit, but it's significantly lower than what we have. 100,000 people no longer have jobs.
Yeah, I would note about this, a thing that is hard is like, a lot of filmmakers are freelance, so how they're quantifying those things. I think it's unquestionable that a lot of freelancers are out of work right now, and a lot of people in creative industries and filmmaking are out of work. But really, it's hard to sort of pinpoint these things for sure. But I would say, any opportunity that we have to be able to support folks in different economic models are always really valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see if there's anything else that they're interested in here. There's a few things. It's quite heavy-handed, Lucy. Oh my God.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying that there's some very heavy-handed statistics.
No, we
here.
love statistics.
We do.
Give us more.
Look at this beautiful. Look at these beautiful diagrams she's got for her as well.
Good.
What does everyone think about the whole HBO Max, Warner Brothers stuff all going digital? That's kind of crazy. The future of cinema.
Oh no, we've talked about this a few times, and honestly, I don't know. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of streaming services, man.
I turned on HBO Max and I found it to be a really clunky platform. That's my thoughts on HBO Max. And then another thing I've been interested in is the Netflix ambient television world. I don't know if anybody had read the New Yorker article about Netflix going into like ambient television, where they talk about Emily in Paris, and the idea that, you know, like suburban moms used to turn on sitcoms and just have it on all day, and now Netflix is producing content that they want us to just sort of have on all day. And I'm like, oh God, that is not what we want. That is definitely not what we want, you know? And it's sort of, it is a balm, and it can be a balm in hard times, but I just, it makes me disappointed, frankly, in the direction that some of these streaming platforms, which originally when they set out were really exciting to me creatively, and now I'm finding more and more is like, they're producing their own content that they believe will work, which is the same model that, you know, larger studios are doing as well, that got us into a lack of depth and complexity and range of content. They sort of purport to have a lot of different stuff, but now it's closing in again.
Yeah.
And is that what we want? Is that what we value? Yeah, and the
it's
adverts
going to turn
are
into
going to come back.
TV. It's going to be TV again. But yeah, actually, there was something interesting I learned about Emily in Paris the other day, is that you're supposed to say it in a French accent, because it's Emily in Paris, so it rhymes. I'm not joking. This is what the film made. This is what they said about their film, and I was like, well, not the film, the horrible, terrible series.
It's been
Emily in
renewed
Paris.
though. So many watches.
I think it's probably been renewed for 2 more seasons. Netflix has this problem where they have 3 seasons of things, and then after that they cancel them.
Well,
frequently.
I don't know if I want 5, 8, 10 seasons of things either, though. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I could watch 5 more seasons of Emily in Paris. I did watch a few episodes. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not good, is it? Really? It's not good.
I think we can pretty unequivocally
white noise,
say it's not great.
White noise television. Yeah. So 2 people have asked a very similar question, which is, what kind of content are you looking for? Duration of short films, particularly genre. And then another person also said, what content do they want to see more of? Exclamation mark, question mark. I think they're asking specifically, how can I get... What is it you guys want to see more of? Where's your void currently?
I'm going to be super democratic here and say that actually we don't, even though there's like a vetting process, we do rely on our partners like the University of Salford to pick out the films for us.
That's really what Aarif and I want more. I mean, I would say in terms of the films that we are selecting right now, we're really looking at the films that are in the 2-1 in the first category in terms of grading, and there's usually a reason why those films have received that grade, both in terms of a technical proficiency and excellence, as well as a sort of ingenuity of creative storytelling. And like I always say in class, you know, I watch certain things at home that does not play into how I relate to films when I'm lecturing and when I'm like going to film screenings and stuff. I hate horror movies. I'm terrified of them. But if you show me an amazing horror movie that a student has made that really is, you know, interesting and innovative and technically excellent, like, sign it up, you know? I think the advice that we always are sort of giving in class, and if you've had class with me, you've probably heard this a million times, is like, you know, film festivals get hundreds of student hit film movies with guns and films that look like, you know, many other films and are sort of recreations of that. And so we really, as we're sort of in the story developing process in class, are trying to encourage students to think about, you know, what matters to me? What's a thing that may have happened to me, or where can I tell a story that's really true to me, or investigates an idea that I'm interested in? And coming from that place in terms of story development, and then, you know, writing a script and really, really developing it is always the place at which I think a lot of really great stories are born. So that is, you know, what I would say. I find a lot of student films look like films. They don't necessarily look like life or say something new about life. I mean, that is in relation to sort of seeing a lot of references that are films. But really, I want us to be thinking, you know, what's a question that I have that I want to answer through a film? Like, what is an investigation creatively that I want to have? And then how can I work that out through the medium of film? I think that's, like, the exciting part of being a filmmaker to me.
Definitely, yeah. And this is again, comes back to the northern thing as well. You're telling stories about somewhere that a lot of people might not know about, north of England, or if you're even from Scotland or Wales. People don't even know where Wales is on a map.
Exactly. It breaks my heart when students want to do American accent films. I'm like, I've seen a load of those. Do like northern accent. Talk, use northern vernacular. I am fascinated by the way that language works here, and I think that is so cool. Like, and that's unique and individual, and something that other folks don't have.
And we've got to say, American audiences do actually like as well.
It's true.
So, and a lot of a couple of student films which are very intrinsically northern. I mean, Chesden's films, for example.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chesden's films.
He did really well. He did a good few festivals in the US, and they really liked his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show, doesn't it? Really, that this is something that people don't see, and people want to see more of it. And Pause is giving us that sort of opportunity to do that. Okay, here we go.
Great.
Why Pause TV?
From a filmmaker's point of view, it's simple. You can earn more. But from a wider point of view, what we're trying to do here is democratize an industry and democratize storytelling as a whole, which is everyone deserves to have a voice. And that voice should be Mancunian if you're from Manchester. And right now, the opportunities just aren't there for everyone. And we're also trying to build a service. From a technology point of view, we're trying to build a platform that's going to be relevant 10 years from now. So people might look around and say, well, hang on, I subscribe to loads of stuff. I don't understand how tipping works. And we've seen a shift from Asia over to the US and slowly across Europe of this more democratic peer-to-peer model where super fans, want to support their creators. We're trying to build close relationships between creators and consumers. That's not just through tipping. It's through the live events, through the Q&A. It's through our Instagram channel. We're trying to build a community of film fans and filmmakers to tie people closer together and reverse the trend of a declining independent film industry, and reverse the rhetoric that if you're a young, ambitious person, you shouldn't go into the creative sector, you should go into accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And one day open up storytelling so that whether you've got a £30 budget, you can still make money from filmmaking and continue to make stories. And so from an audience point of view, you're not just tipping a filmmaker, you're not just tipping someone that you know and you like their film. What you're doing is sending a signal to say, actually, I stand up for democracy and diversity in storytelling, and I want to see a different vision for the next 10 years of the internet that isn't reliant on ads, where my personal data is valued and doesn't need to be sold to advertisers and third parties. I actually want to keep that, and I determine what the value is. And so that's what we're trying to do here at Pause. That might have been a bit ranty, but there we go.
Mic drop, I think. Then that was really good. Amazing. Beautiful. Look at that. Laura, anything you want to add?
No, I thought that was
No?
great.
Good? Yeah. How about this? I don't know if you two, I'm sure, Rishi, you know the ins and outs of Pause. Do you want to recommend us a film from Pause TV? This is something we've not done in a while. Do you want to recommend us a couple, or just throw a few out there for students or anyone listening to watch?
Let me think about this one. I'll think about this one quick.
Okay, this is fine. It's all right. Yeah, I just thought it might be quite good.
The other thing to say is in January we're going to put out the Festival of Short Film information, and we'll send a link to the app and stuff that you should download, but it's an essential part of the festival and getting involved. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled for what to download and how to get involved with the platform. Because that will definitely be a way that we can sort of all see how it works and runs with our content on it, which is awesome.
And the Festival of Short Film is what dates again?
January 25th to the 28th.
There you go. January 25th to the 28th.
Apocalypse or not.
Weirdly, a recommendation from me is the film called Radio, which is on Pause. So check that out.
There you go. Radio. Genre?
It's kind of a blend of genres. I don't know what he actually put it as. I think he might put it under drama or narrative. Interestingly, it's set during a pandemic, even though he made it pre-COVID.
Really? Ooh.
So highly relevant. It's fantastic, though.
Amazing. Yeah, Radio.
Daniel Hammersley is the filmmaker. We did a live event for him on Pause, which is great. And so watch his film Radio on Pause.
Awesome. There you go. Radio. You can watch that on Pause TV. It's free. Go watch it. Make an account. Put your films on there. Subject to availability. And yeah, thank you so much, Rishi. Incredible. Can't wait to.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, awesome. Really excited to get this sort of thing going. Yeah, with a few student films. Really exciting. And thank you, Laura, as well, for helping me out and giving me some backup. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So the podcast is available on all your major platforms. You have YouTube, you've got Spotify, you've got SoundCloud. That one, Anchor FM. Yeah, Anchor FM as well. And it goes everywhere. It's literally everywhere. You can't miss it. Film Production Podcast. Watch it. Watch this one. Go to Pause TV. Watch Pause TV. More stuff coming up soon. Phosphor, 25th, 28th. Amazing. Love it. Signing off. Thank you all for listening. Amazing. Thank you guys again. Bye. You can all wave to the cameras if you like.
Oh, right. I forgot we're on a camera.
Yeah, cute. Lovely. Thank you so much, everyone. Amazing. Right, we're done. We're done.
Good.
I don't think there's anything else anyone wants to add to this. No?